I push 50 points off the track, baby.
In Japan, where the sun will always shine, traditions collide with the future's line. Through city streets and temples high, find your story beneath the sky. Waves crash, walking our sense, harmony flows to the best of lands. In the neon glow, where is bent, the culture rich, where is sense, even more no grace. We'll dance the night with every star, a guiding light. In Japan, where the sun will always shine, traditions collide with the future's line. The cherry lanes and
Well, I just sort of got myself in a
find your
valve already.
magic near the moonlit nights.
Alrighty. Sorry, I've been kind of a little bit off trying to get thumbnail, trying to get the situation. I did take a photo of the truck, of a different electric truck than the one that is me driving. But we are currently taking olive oil down to over here to Takayama. So we're finishing up a haul that I started the other day when I was live streaming in the evening on Twitch. So that's where I get all of those things. So I am going to tell you pretty much basically, always, there to really show you guys a glass, But it's always one of those things where I'm willing to finish the um, haul from my night stream. Sometimes I will drive not on YouTube. Sometimes I will just drive specifically at night when I feel like it. But most of the time, it's genuinely not always that case. Um, and to be honest, for those of you who are watching, the afternoons are always specifically single player, mostly single player content, not always. Sometimes it can be um, um, sometimes it can be single player, multiplayer, but mostly it's just usually Euro Truck, Final Fantasy right now. Um, and Glass, sometimes you smell too, so we all do. But uh, there's a lot of things that really go on and actually really um, sharing with you guys on a lot of things. There's a couple of things that are not mentioned in this live stream that are not mentioned in the title. Some of it is tech related, and I would rather start with some of the tech stuff. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I hate when I should know that by now. I should never really be in that lane. It should always be in the far lane on the other end. But there's always this thing that most of you guys probably don't really look at the Steam hardware sale, Steam hardware stuff. I'm gonna use the ETC lane. And a lot of people don't really pay. Some people just don't pay attention, but I don't either, per se. I'm not somebody that I do submit my stuff to the Steam hardware sale because I want Steam to really, like, I trust Steam with my hardware stuff because they're ones that are willing to really help and work with the community, and they also sell games too, so it's like you know, getting help and getting those things out there, and going through the Steam hardware sale, or not the hardware sale, but the Steam hardware stats and stuff. They have Linux. A lot of people don't really seem to look and understand that Linux actually has a 5% market share on Steam now. So it's 5%, at least a little over 5%. That's actually a good thing. It just allows for people to have that choice. And that's a good thing for me to see that. And it's also a good thing to see, Glass, that you can't wait for your interview tomorrow. For it, and that's always a good thing that you look forward to certain things. Like a lot of times for me, like we look forward to actually having some things in our lives that are really beneficial to us, and then there are some things where we look forward to getting like our favorite Pokemon or getting our favorite things in life. But you know, but it's always a good thing to actually be able to do things like that. Um. Okay, now I have to really move over here. I should have just stayed over here. Once I figure out. Well, I guess I don't need to really do that because, you know, on this, but um, there's a lot of things that are actually some good wins and some really fantastic things in life that are actually good. And today there's actually a lot of some good news, and that is that's actually a good thing, you know. You know, it's always a good thing to be out there and actually um yeah, it's a good thing, Glass. But there's also a good thing for people who live in Georgia. Um, there was a couple of things that are massive wins in Georgia. Um, a big massive win, 15. Hey, it's actually, Glass, you won't just have a busy summer, you'll have a busy rest of the year. Most likely, the way it seems. You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I always like to stay within the farmost right lane, because usually you're supposed to. Actually I'm supposed to stay in the farmost left lane, actually, but because I realize this now that um that you're supposed to be actually in the far left lane in America, and in the far right lane in um, places like Japan. But it's okay. Um, but getting 15 laws to basically not pass in Georgia is actually a great sign. A great sign. Um, uh, so it's a good thing, and it's also a good thing that, you know, there are wins where we can take them. You know, and it's always a good thing, you know, and it's a good thing that, you know, that there are people out there that are willing to step up to the plate and actually protect trans people. You know, Wisconsin basically stepped up and the governor vetoed bills on trans people's lives, but at the same time, you know, I've talked about this before. There are places where trans people do not want to be living. You don't want to be living in Tennessee because of being part of a law um, for things like that. Hold on, guys. I need to come down here because unfortunately I need to take off the raise the volume because that's gonna hurt your guys' ears at some point. Because I noticed that myself. Um, I'm like, why is that seem so loud? That's why. Because sometimes, like, I'm listening to, like, a video on, like, YouTube or something, and I will, like, have quiet, I'll have, like, it's more quiet than it normally is, and I'll just turn up that thing on my, uh, volume and turn it up so that I can actually hear, um, because I can't always hear what somebody's saying quite well, um, on that. But But at the same time, uh, having less wins because not only with Kansas, not only with Tennessee, you know, a lot of people probably already know what Kansas is doing with their IDs. Um, but there was also Tennessee basically requiring um, uh, trans people to be on a list, and that's not right either. Um, and Idaho making the worst bathroom bans in the nation, requiring trans people to basically, if they do not use a, if they're not able to use the bathroom of their choice, um, they are basically, if they go into, for example, if a trans woman goes into the women's restroom, they can get 5 years in prison or more at that point. Or same thing with going to use the trans men using the men's restroom. It's not right. Um, I've talked about it many times. If you want to know more details, you guys can watch my past live streams or go check out Aaron in the Morning. Some of the places where I do get my information, so it's what it's worth. Not only that, a lot of my information comes through LGBTQ Nation, Pink News, for a lot of LGBTQ related content. Occasionally, I might get something from Trans Radio UK as well when I am there. Um, Through it all, uh, and then I will also sometimes will get my news based on from what I've read and what I've heard, um, and what is being done. Um, but one of the things that is really kind of poor taste, that I was listening to a thing. Now, of course, this is whatever. I'm like, and whatever. But there was a thing where recently in the state of Utah, they just allowed for butter rolls to be public, even unless they are done for certain reasons. They basically now, nobody can private them if they wanted it to be private. They have to be done through certain means and required to be done that way. And it basically, you now have your voter roll registration pretty much basically gives access to your address, your political affiliation, and your name. And that's not right. Okay, I just wanted to make... Yeah, okay, I'm going the right way. And that, but to be honest, it's one of those things that you can always have the better decisions and better things that can be done. It doesn't bother me on those things, but it's like that kind of puts a sour taste in some people's mouths, and I understand that. But to be honest, it's more worry about scammers and things like that being able to get your data, and I think that's not right. There's always going to be that human side of things that a scammer can literally, get that information. Jeez, I was actually speeding instead of trying to slow down. So yeah, but that one, it's whatever. I'm not like too worried. I don't live in the state, but at the same time, um, you know, that's one of those things that you can't really trust everything that you see um, out there. But this one you can, because it's literally coming from a local radio station out in the state. Um, Out there, so you can trust a lot of these things. If you can't trust everywhere, don't believe everything you hear, don't believe everything you see, but you can. um and I can tell you that I follow a lot of places that do at least are willing to show what is the truth and what is out there and what is needing to be said um through a lot of these these news places. Like I won't, I'll tell you, don't go and believe what you see on social media. Okay? Make sure that you go and check elsewhere before you make that full decision to say, hey, this is um problematic, this isn't what it needs to be. It needs to be said in a different way or whatnot. Um, you just need to make sure that you double check the citations and things. Like, I don't do that all the time. I'm not perfect at it, but it's always a good practice to do it. But like the places that I do trust most of the time really are trustworthy enough that I can not have to completely rely on that. You know, but it's always a good idea to don't just sit there and think that you're going to be able to know um, everything that's being done. Don't just don't just listen to your don't just listen to your local radio station, because your local radio station um, is not always going to tell you the things that you need to hear. They might not always tell you the absolute truth in things. Um, um, on it. And it's the same thing. You don't want to trust everything that you hear um, in listening to Fox. Don't always believe the news stations that you hear on TV, because not all news stations are going to tell you everything that's going on. Um, you know, you can listen to your local news, because your local news is going to be your best thing, but not always. You always got to have somewhere that if they're talking national news, have at least a somebody like Midas Touch. Have somebody if you decide you want to have Tucker Carlson, or have somebody out there. I don't listen to Tucker Carlson. I don't listen to Fox News. I don't listen to right-wing media. But I'm just saying, if you want to have something, don't just have everything set into a single place. Always have a place to where you might get something that you might miss, because there might be something that you might miss. And some of these things can be easily corrected with some ground news. Ground news is not in any way sponsored by them or anything like that, because to be honest, I don't have ground news. I use Smart News and Newsbreak right now, because they're free. because they're free, and that's the thing that I use. And it's okay, it's whatever. I'm not like somebody that's going to sit out there and listen to every um, I don't listen to every news article out there. And don't just believe the headline. Don't just read the headline. Because the headline's not going to tell you what's actually going on. A lot of times these news headlines will tell you, will get you to grab your attention, and they'll try to grab your attention to make you read the article, and that's fine. But you should at least go and read the article before you make a full undivided judgment on these things. And that's why a lot of times you don't want to have social media, in the sense of you don't want to be part of these social media platforms of Twitter, and thinking you're going to get all the political content that you want. It's censored in a way that, like, if you're critical of Trump, you are kind of in some way being censored on that platform. It's also the same thing when you go and you look at things within Japan. A lot of people will look at me and say, will look at these things and say, well, they're increasing the citizenship in order to receive citizenship in Japan. No, in order to receive citizenship, in order to receive permanent residency, it's 5 years for citizenship, but it's a lot, and it's 10 years for permanent residency. But a lot of people will well, that's like too much. It's like, no, it's not. Actually, it's not. It's one of the places where they do a lot of. You don't just go to Japan and want to become a citizen. It takes time, and it takes a lot of paperwork, a lot of things that need to be done through through a lot of these places, and people will do that. But it's like, you don't really seem to, a lot of people don't seem to understand that it's hard to become a Japanese citizen, because they make it difficult, because they want you to assimilate into Japanese culture and being Japanese, and not just being part of another melting pot of a country like the United States is. Okay? That would have actually been nice, but I have to rotate around because I thought that this was like a secret passageway. And unfortunately, it's not. It's not. But a lot of people really don't seem to, like, yeah, it's hard to get. It's hard to get citizenship in a country that's supposed to be. Like you got like they don't want people like going and doing country hopping. Like you go to one country, get a citizenship of that country, but then I'm like I'm here for like 5 years. It's like no, like no, you don't want to do that. Um, I'm doing this here because I need to have a larger turn, but there's a lot of that where people will just assume that oh things are changing in the background, the system's changing. Yeah, it's changing in Japan. It's that way, but it's not in the sense of what people think it is. It's not becoming something where it hasn't been changed. Like they have not changed that for ever. It's like it has not like a lot of people say they live in 2050. They don't. They have things where they live in a mix of 2050, but then they live in 1950. So it's kind of like where they live in the future with some modern things, but then they live in olden times. Like a lot of people will realize that a lot of places still use money instead of utilizing you know um, digitally, but they're slowly shifting over a lot of things, changing. But it takes time. It doesn't. It's like you cannot change a society overnight and expect everybody to go and use the new way of doing things. You cannot. You cannot allow for people to become uh, and become doing those things in that way. Culture does not shift overnight. You can't go and force a set of LGBTQ people to change their way of life, their culture, overnight. It takes time to even wanting to do that, and a lot of people are gonna be reluctantly to change a lot. Um, the culture in America. You go and you look at California and New York or Minnesota or going and living in any of these states. Each state is a culture. Each state is going to be a little bit different than going to um, in that regard. It's like you go and you look at California. California is is really different than say going to Minnesota, and Minnesota is more like Canada. Minnesota doesn't mean that they're truly Canadian. It just means that we here in Minnesota more can assimilate with Canadian culture than probably the rest of the country, because that's how our culture is. It's like you go down and you go into these cities, even down to the cities, there are different cultures ranging from different parts of the city and different areas and things like that. You can't always go and expect things to automatically be willing to change, because that change is totally different um, in culture and things like that, and it's the same thing with civilizations and countries and doing a lot of those things that really do um, have a different degree and different degree of what their culture is like. Okay, yes, you might realize um, 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 you might have a a country that's totally different from what we want a country to look like, you know? And to be honest, one of the things that really bugs me is Trump and how he's now threatening to, or even is going to do it, um, to get rid of a civilization, to get rid of Iran. And Iran has been around for thousands of years. Not just has been around a lot longer than the United States. Okay, a lot of these people don't understand that getting rid of these things. And to be honest, like Iran's not gonna listen to Trump anymore because he's basically, you know, and it's like you go and you believe him, and it's like, well then, but he's gonna backstab you in the back anyway. Why? So then, why trust him? Why believe him anyway? Anyway, it's a lot of it is ridiculous for what he is doing and what he is doing to this country. Like I don't care what you think about him, and you may think that he's a great person, a great thing, but you haven't really spent a lot of your time really absolutely choosing to follow a person, to follow just because some of you follow just because he's done great for you and you seem that he's doing great for you, but then in reality he's not. There are a lot of places in this country where a lot of um, these prices like RAM and these things are going up in price. Now, of course, I haven't looked. There's a video out there that I haven't watched yet about RAM might be falling again, but we don't know that. I'm not for sure on that. I'm not somebody out there. And then there are people out there that are just like will sit out there and believe, these things with him with all of it. And he's not a Christian, to be honest. If you are a Christian, you would have actually been making Easter about about Jesus, and making it about him, and making it about that, instead of making it about himself. And that's what he did on Sunday. He basically gave speeches and gave things that were pertaining all about him, and talking like it's not well, even while kids were there, to be honest. It's like I have no sympathy for a lot of kids wanting to for what's going on with that, and you have the right to make your own decisions, but it's like, why are you going to allow your kids to be around somebody that is the P word? Actually, no. I was thinking we go downward, but we don't. Where a lot of these places where people don't really seem to quite understand the importance of studying in these locations, and or studying the information that is given to them, and just only looking at one side. People will go and just follow Fox News just to listen to Fox News, and some people will go out and sit and listen to MS Now and just only listen to them, and only listen to one point. I don't, like, for me, I do listen to only Midas Touch and that, but I also listen to Fair and Balance and a few others out there. But when I go and look at videos and things, that's where I spend my time with. But when I read articles or I read things, I will read things that may not be left leaning, that may be right leaning. But I do occasionally listen to places like that. I don't just, you know, always put my foot in one side of the area. You know, I will tell you, I am somebody that and I politically say this because, like, I am somebody that was a Republican. Was, keyword. Um, and was because I am now have basically, will tell you, I am more of somebody that is a left-leaning with, I'm basically like one of those moderate leftists. Like a lot of people say, oh, you're far left. No, I'm not far left. If I was far left, I would be basically standing to not agree with then I'd be saying to agree with banning guns, but I do not. I am actually somebody that does not agree with banning guns. It doesn't matter, but like I'm not gonna care. I'm not gonna like get upset because other people are willing to ban it. I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna be somebody that like, okay, yeah, whatever. There's only a handful of things that I will complain about that are absolutely worse than anything. Like, I will tell you, like, I go and I listen to left talking points. I go and listen to people on the left and people on the right and people on both sides, but most of the time, like, I am not somebody that's going to vote a Republican in any point, in any shape or form right now. It is going to take a lot for me to vote a Republican. And it's going to take a lot before I make a... It's not going to take a lot for me to vote a Democrat, but it's going to take a lot when that Democrat basically, you know, in order for me to vote for you, you have to be willing to at least, like, if you're going to be a Republican or a Democrat, you know, there's going to be at least 5 things that I want to see coming in from you as a person. Like, I will still end up voting, but if I see, I'll still end up voting for the lesser of 2, but the one that I'm going to stand with is, are you going to be LGBTQ supportive? Are you including trans people? Are you willing to better American lives through affordable health care and affordable economy and helping people be able to get better lives, to get a better life? Those are the things that I look into. Those are the things that I look into when I do things, and you know, and a couple other things, making sure that we are willing to protect our freedom to make our own decisions, making sure that we have the freedom to have a religion, and not being forced to have a religion being put into our schools. That's why we have the freedom of religion. It's not like I am not against having religion in schools, allowing for kids to pray in schools if they wanted to, or allowing for them to do it on their own time, but forcing kids to I'm gonna stay in this lane unless I absolutely have to change. Or forcing kids to put things into being religious, and forcing kids to be put on that choice, in putting people with religion as if you're in a public school, religion should not be part of it. Ten Commandments should not be part of it because you go out and you believe the Ten Commandments. Well, then what about, okay, so now you have to, if you're going to put the Ten Commandments, you now have to put in rules about other religions in there too, because this is a religion on 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 putting in, what about the, like, you want to make sure that, you know, these kids are not being taught, like, there's always going to be differences, there's always going to be different values, and having that, okay, but forcing somebody to learn something and forcing somebody to follow, it's hard. It's hard because nobody's going to listen. Like, nobody's going to sit out there and believe everything that's there. Because if that was the case, if everybody actually just listened and actually followed and listened and believed in religion, then we wouldn't be, and followed religion to a down to the letter T, we would not have multiple religions. We would only have one. But we have multiple religions, and everybody wants to believe slightly different than everybody wants to believe slightly differently than me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my nose right up to almost to kissing. And then we can bring you there. Okay, I tried. But it's right out there where, you know, people will go out and believe that when you listen to one thing, you only want to hear what you want to hear, because it's like a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated. Some people don't want to get vaccinated because they believe this way, and that's not right. They don't have critical thinking skills. A lot of people believe this way and only this way, and that's all they're going to believe. They're not going to be willing to change their mind, and that's their choice. They've made that decision on it, and that's not right. Forcing somebody to only believe my way is not right. You know, but there's a handful of things that people really should be listening and really should be paying attention. A lot of people should really be listening to the okay, that one, I'm wanting to see if you have any other electric vehicles and see what we get. That's a 4-hour trip time for this one. Okay, so I'm gonna take the 4-hour trip time one. Take this one for the last little bit of today's stream. So it's like you can't just sit there and just believe what you want, or just listen to what you want to hear. Like a lot of times, like you will listen to some people that may not have a thing. Like you don't go listen to a doctor that is a doctor in sociology and then believe that doctor is telling you everything about medicine when, you know, when that doctor's only specialized in sociology or social work, whereas you want to listen to a doctor, you don't want to listen to Dr. Oz and listen to him as a just listening to him and believe everything. Like I will tell you, like I don't listen. I stopped. I will tell you, I used to listen to Dr. Oz a little bit. I used to listen to him, and I don't listen to him anymore. You know, I don't listen to people like that. Oh, fudge. Whatever. I'm gonna make that mistake. I knew it. But you don't want to listen to. Don't listen to them as, like, you know, there's doctors meant for one thing, and there's doctors meant for another, and there's doctors meant for X, Y, or Z. You know, but they're knowledgeable in that field. They're not knowledgeable in another portion of that field. Sometimes, you know, you listen to doctors. Doctors are going to be knowledgeable in some general sense. When you go to the doctor's office, a doctor's different. Okay. In that way, but they're supposed to be there to help you. You don't go to a veterinarian to you don't go see a vet for you. You go to the vet to see for your animals and taking care of your animals that way. You know, you don't go to a doctor, a human doctor, to go for animals unless you know, unless it's related to you being sick in that general way or whatever. But that's why you don't just go out and believe and listen to Trump, or listen to like, you don't go out and listen to, like, Kamala Harris and just believe everything that Kamala Harris has to say. But if you go and you just hear her side, and then you hear Trump's side, and then you go out and you hear both, and you listen to what's going on, then you have some better grounding and knowing what's going on both sides, and knowing that, you know, that if you paid attention, like, I'm not somebody that you need to. We're living in reality now, but if, you know, if we listened to Kamala Harris, and you listened to Trump, and you might still have voted for Trump, and that's fine. But, you know, you don't go out and don't go out and listen to Fox News. Listen to what both sides are saying on the issue, because I guarantee you, if we had more people that listened to what Kamala Harris was saying, and actually listened and actually paid attention to what she was saying, yes, she might have said, oh, they might be getting rid of your free speech. Well, there are times where you go and you look at a platform. Like, I could be sitting here and telling you that, you know, you can end up losing your freedom to speak a certain way on this platform because this platform's telling you um I forgot to turn my headlights. But there's always this sometimes where people will just listen to one area of news and that's all they listen to. They don't willing to listen to one side or the other. They have to really sit down and actually parse it out and actually, you know, don't just believe um don't just believe um your um, don't believe just one side because there's bias in everything. Everybody has a bias in some sort. I even have a bias. But what I say is like could be I may not be quietly telling you the whole entire truth, and you have to make that own decision on your own, and actually be willing to study up on these things, and not just believe everything that I say. Don't um Um, so just know that there's a lot of things out there that you can listen and choose. And for me, if when I talked about like technology, most of the stuff that I'm talking about is just personally things that I have studied, things that I've done in my personal life that you know that have done that, or I've gotten from news articles and things. But and politically, most of the political content that I talk about, somebody already else is talking about it, but it's me basically kind of adding my own 2 cents to it. It's like you know, with the Japanese thing, it's like a lot of people will jump at the gun and believe like social media and saying, you know, you listen to social media and they're like, but then you don't. It's like I will tell you, I listen to um I listen to a guy from I listen to a whole bunch of different people from Japan. You know, my latest you know, I listened to one guy from majorly from Japan, um Only in Japan Go or Only in Japan John Dobb are the guy that I listen to the most. But I do have a few other people that I do listen to from Japan. And some of those people may not be like perfect perfect embodiment of what Japan is. But to be honest, it's like it's whatever. You know, I just started watching a new channel that I basically just happened to found on browsing through actual Facebook, and then I ended up actually following on the YouTube side of things, where Ryan Krause is the guy that I listen to now, and things like that. And that's where I get a lot of that content from. Uh, you know, where I talk about a lot of Japan is from other YouTubers, from other people talking about this stuff. You know, and you can have a political, you can politically believe one way or the other, and it's your choice how you want to believe. It's your choice and how you want to set out and believe the these things and believe in these certain ways, that everybody has a different way of thinking. Everybody has a different way of doing things in a personal way of doing things in their own daily life. Like, you don't just go out and believe Fox News. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's always a good idea to understand. Like, if you're trying to understand a culture and trying to understand it a little bit, and I'm not saying that, you know, watching these people that you're gonna see that they're having a perfect life. You know, not everybody you watch on the internet is going to have a perfect life. Everybody struggles. Everybody has those things throughout their life. But also, when you go and you view when you go out and you view the content from a country, don't assume that that country is 100% absolutely a fantastic country to move to, a fantastic country to be in. That country is not. Like, I don't go sit there willing to just shop for a country because I'm looking for a place for me to be as a trans person. I don't. I'm looking at a country that, hey, is this country actually going to protect me as a trans person? But is also that culture, am I going to be able to easily understand, easily to assimilate into a culture that is there that I can easily be able to be part of and actually not have a thing. It's not like I am looking at just because it's trans. No, I'm not looking for it. I'm just having things where I can study and learn on these various different places and understanding the importance of these things, and not just like, oh, I'm just gonna look at it. No, I will tell you, I went and there's a lot of things that I listen to that are you know, that are from other countries. Like, I did listen to well, part of it was because I wanted to think about it, but like Malta, like, I really looked at it and I'm like, no, not really. It's not something that I can assimilate. If I can assimilate into society and be able to understand what goes on and be able to, that with being able to be trans in that country, that's kind of those things. It's like, I don't want to shift to another country and not want to assimilate and learn that culture and learn and be part of that. You know? You know, I don't want to go out and believe that this place is going to be like the best country ever. No country is going to be 100% the best country for you, because there's going to always be something that you may dislike about that country, and if you're trying to flee from that country because here, let's and doing a lot of things. It's why you don't go and just think that you're going to be able to go, like, oh yeah, you might like it for 6 months in that country, but then you might not. You might realize, no, this isn't a place for me. That's why it's like, you don't go and just go to go and get citizenship for that country. You don't just go and do things like that. That's why you take your time and just listen to other people from that country and study. Don't just go out there and believe that you can just automatically be happy and being there. It's like not everybody is going, like, you go and live in a country, you're not gonna be happy in that country. If you've been there for like 4 or 5 years, you might like, well, okay, I've been here for 5 years, okay, I understand, I can actually be part of this culture and live on it. You know, you go to the Netherlands, like, I watched at least a little bit of people who went to the Netherlands to, you know, there. But let me be clear, just because of that, it's like, I still have, like, I watched like 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 channels that were based in the Netherlands. And 2 of them, are literally literally are not making content in the Netherlands anymore. One stopped making content, and one channel stopped making content. Ali and I think it was like TNT Go Dutch. There. And then Soul Travels is not making content in the Netherlands. They're making content in Portugal now. And so it's like, and then I have one person that is an American living in the Netherlands, Dutch Americano, there. But I also, not only that, but I have people that I listen to from all over. You know, it's not just like, I don't just sit and listen to Netherlands. I don't just sit and listen to just Japan. I listen to a variety of different places. You know, Canada, Malta, different places that are out there, just to kind of understand what's life like elsewhere in the world, and not just like, that's a great way to do things, is to understand and get yourself watching other people from other countries to get that knowledge and understanding through it all. But to be honest, like that's why I've listened to people who have gone into Iran, people who have gone into, you know, just to kind of get a little bit of glimpse into life outside of the United States. And I've gotten a couple of people that I watch that are out there that are not a part of this, that are part of these other places, you know, that may be a right-leaning political person, that may be this, but I don't know. I don't care. If your content is like non-political, and I might still end up supporting you. I don't care. You're not talking politics. You're not putting politics in front of everybody's face. You're not telling people who you voted for, telling you how you do things. But if I do find out that you are that way, and then, you know, I might not follow you anymore. To be honest, I've actually, will tell you this. One of the things that I did recently do is I just recently cleared out a whole bunch of my people I follow on Twitch, Like, I just cleared out a whole bunch of people. Like, I don't watch a lot of Twitch anyway, but like, I'm not somebody that sits and watches Twitch all day long. I'm also somebody that doesn't watch a lot of live streams on a daily basis. But I only have one person that I watch like consistently. Like I consistently I'll tell you, I consistently listen to a lot of Barnacules. He's the only live stream that I will absolutely take the time out of my day to go and watch. Like, that's the one guy that I will absolutely 100% recommend that you guys go and watch. He's one of those people that I would sit down and take the time to watch. You know, I used to watch the Linus Tech Tips. I don't watch Linus that much anymore. I don't, you know, I sit here and I listen to, you know, I occasionally will listen to a live stream from the past, but, you know, through YouTube and things, but, and Twitch, it's kind of one of those things that I've just kind of watched a couple of people, on here that I completely forgot about, that I've kind of just like, whatever. I don't watch a lot of musical streams anymore. Not because of that. I just don't listen to a lot of those things. To be honest, it's one of those things that I don't do a lot of music streams. It's just because of the landscape of these things. But I will tell you, like, I always spend a lot of my time just browsing and listening to both sides, not listening to both sides, but browsing just myself. Like, if there's a game I like and I want to watch somebody play it, like, there's a handful of games that I do. I just watch somebody play it for whatever. I sit and watch Final Fantasy VIII. I sat down and watched a little bit of future Final Fantasy 13 because I just happened to stumble upon a stream that seemed really interesting. And of course, you know, I am somebody that got spoiled a little bit, but guess what? I don't care. For that one, I didn't care at the time. Like, a lot of times, like, I don't care if I am willing to look up a spoiler, but being told something, that's one totally different thing than I can pick up the pace a little bit because I'm gonna mark it at 79. Boom. But I do listen to both. I do watch some people on here. Like, I do watch C90 Official on occasion. You know, where he does a lot of Age of Empires related content, and I'm absolutely in love with Age of Empires. Like, it's one of those other games that I do like. That I do like, and it's not like I go and watch a lot of content from Age of Empires though, but it's another one of those people that I highly recommend. Like, I highly will recommend C90 Official because, to be honest, like, it's one of those things where there's only two people that I really strongly will recommend you guys go and watch. That I put full trust in a lot of these people. I don't put a lot of trust in a lot of people, but these two, I can put a little bit more that you should really watch it and enjoy the content because they do a lot of great things. You know, sometimes I will watch Cypher PK. I don't watch Cypher PK on a daily basis. Another one that I've kind of really liked watching is Seth Drums. Haven't stopped by on a stream yet. Haven't stopped by to watch a stream yet. Watch some of his content on reels and things and places elsewhere, but you know, I don't. To be honest, the most places that I'm always on Instagram, I'm always on YouTube on a daily basis, but that's it. Like, I'm hardly on Twitch because most of the time I wasn't on Twitch because I was like, I'm done, I'm not going to be part of Twitch anymore. I was kind of this person that I was done. I'm not going to sit here and listen and be on Twitch when Twitch's policies were not what I liked. But then I went over to Trovo, and then Trovo's gone now, so now I've kind of back over here. I'm not gonna be on Trovo anymore, because what's the point in me going on to Trovo when Trovo's not being when Trovo's kind of basically giving up. Like, I am somebody that I really was hoping that Trovo could take off outside of Twitch, outside of having another great platform that actually that was a great place that I could really sometimes talk politics there if I wanted to. But I wasn't supposed to, but I did anyway. It was one of those other rules that I did break because, but I didn't do it on a daily basis. I just did it where I talked politics, talked a lot of variety. I still do. Okay, I know I'm gonna have to probably start. Yep, I knew I was gonna have to start shifting down to. I'm gonna shift it down to 42 for now, because I know it's gonna be another thing. But I always will tell you, like, it's a hard thing. It's a hard place to really be on a lot of these platforms, and being able to be out there, and it's hard to duh. I was pushing B instead of A. There, so you gotta just spend your time looking at a lot of these different places and these different things that you need to learn and grow and understand the importance of it's always a good thing to have I don't know what I was about to say. But it's always a good thing to study and actually learn about different things and understanding different um, different things in life. Like, to be honest, like I'm one of those people that, I didn't think I would take that plunge. Like, I wasn't quite for sure. I wasn't like somebody that, like, okay, can I go and be part of a community? Um, it's like one of those things where I wasn't quite for sure if I wanted to jump over to Linux. I wasn't like, do I not? Do I stay on YouTube? I mean, Microsoft, or do I just fuck it and just go with Linux? And I did that this when I did last year, um, where I had switched. I had literally switched from Windows to Bazite, literally within like a couple of weeks. Like, I wasn't like, and do I really was like, okay, do I switch over because that's what's being done. I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna do that, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, fine. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna make that decision that, I'm just gonna buck it and I'm just gonna do it. I don't care if I have problems. Then, you know what? Guess what? I'll just deal with it, and I did. Um, I switched my main computer to my computer that I'm currently on right now to a Bazite distribution and to a distro. Um, and that's what I did. And it's one of those things where, and then I ended up also wanting to switch over my laptop as well, but my laptop did not end up supporting what I needed, so I ended up going back to Windows. It's like, okay, whatever. I can deal with Windows, having a little bit of Windows, having just to be able to use it for my streaming purposes or on the go. And that's basically how my journey is, to just take that plunge. If you're not quite for sure, spin up a VM and do it that way. Spin it up and just try it yourself. Like, don't hesitate to jump from Windows to Linux. Spend your time studying on these things. Just spend your time studying on these little these things and actually learning. Like, don't just like a lot of times, like, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I can't live without Photoshop. I can't live without this. I can't live without that. If you cannot live without something, you can definitely probably live without it, to be honest. Like, I can live without having Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop. I haven't used Photoshop in years. To be honest, I use Photoshop basically since probably 2018. I've used, and to be honest, most of the things I use, I'm primarily, all I use right now is GIMP, and that's all I use for my thumbnails. I don't use it for anything else. I don't use it for anything other than that. And that's where a lot of people will look at me and say, look, be like, okay, what do I use in place of these things? Well, I use a lot of, like, I use Shotcut for my editing software. It's not professional. I don't care. I don't want it to be like completely professional grade stuff. Like, I am just here just to do it. And most of the stuff I do is I just use it for thumbnail and for GIMP, and that's it. I don't like do things in a lot of professional things. Now, of course, I know I need to get off here shortly because but I will tell you that, you know, the things that I look into and the things that really just understand that you can, like Reaper, like, oh, music editing. Like, there's actually a couple of editing softwares that I know. Like, I know Pro Tools, and I know the Max version of things. But I also have used Reaper before too. So it's like, oh, if I want to make music or anything, I can just use Reaper, and Reaper will be fine. I've used Studio One. I've used multiple different audio softwares. Audacity is another great one. You know, I've used enough to understand different audio tools. I've used Adobe Audition. Okay, I've used multiple different I've used multiple different things within that. Different tools there. I've used multiple different video editing softwares, not many. I've used less on those. I've used Adobe Premiere. I have used I have used Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker. I actually did use that way back in the day. I used it when I started doing YouTube in 2013. You know, and even posting content on the internet back then as well that was not necessarily set up for YouTube though either. So, you know, I used Movie Maker. I've used I have used that. I think that was the only other video software I've used outside of the three that I've used before. So I'm like, I have used many different things, and I've used, and to be honest, I've used things from different places and different on a lot of these places, and a lot of people think that a lot of people will think, oh well, I've used enough to I've used more audio grade equipment than any other So I so it's whatever you decide you want to use and whatever is out there available to you. You know, I use to record video. I use OBS. I use Streamlabs OBS. I use OBS. I use you know um um in that regard, I use some open source software, but I don't use everything open software. Like I don't I don't care whether it's open software or not. I just know that as long as it's supported on Linux, I will. But I've got a little bit left here today. Um, as we're kind of getting ourselves to the end of today's live stream. Um, uh, you guys can always catch me live directly on Twitch and YouTube. Um, if you're on YouTube, you can hit that bell notification with the all when you hit that subscribe button. It's free to absolutely do so. This is the only time I do mention it. I don't mention these platforms anywhere else. I only have it on the screen for that. So, I just spend a lot of my time to understand different technologies and things. And some of the places that I do spend a lot of time listening to is I listen to um you know a lot of these major YouTubers on Jay's 2 cents and things like that. Like a lot of their stuff, like when they do review things, it is dedicated for primarily Windows, and that's fine. Like I'm not somebody that I will somewhat listen to these different places and different things throughout what is there now bank. I can officially go with 70,000 with 70 million for it. If we do go use trucks right now, we only have the Renault, the Volvo, and the Scania R. Not really going to do that right now. I've only ever been able to find 2. The DAF over here, and the Mercedes over there. And if we do customize our thing, like in order to um like you can see that I have a whole, like I do have that, but I don't really want to spend um like my truck logo works here for that one. We've got the and that can go as up as 408, which, to be honest, that's going to be the ideal thing. But as you can see, we don't have any available for that. And even if I do, I do. But if we go over here and you go down to catalog, go to Truck Explorer, I want to really think about that this cause I probably don't have that. They would be 360 for this one. And this one does not have anything available for it either. No, I said catalog, Truck Explorer. This is that the DAF XF so we've got that available to us. Now, of course, I did not. That's just if I followed the DAF XF, we would have to go down to space. You know, so we've got that available to us. I'm checking the other truck because I do like using the DAF trucks. I am going to show you guys, like, I use a little bit of everything. Like the DAF and XF is another one. Mine works with this. But then if I go with the XG, mine still works with the XG. And with the XG plus, Miku's work with that. But I have my own that works with all three of those. So I'm like, so I can use my own logo for what I need to do. But in order for me to do that, I would have to spend 70,000 on a service when that truck that I was talking about, that DAF thing, if I were to just go to truck dealers, to go out, we would end up having to buy this, putting it up at the 408. That unlocks, I could wait till level 6 to unlock this, for it, because level 6 basically is going to be the ideal thing that I probably should wait for, because we do have a lot of these trucks that we need to have a little bit of better traction going uphill. But at that same point, you know, that one's available to me. The XF space, no, 410. We could also do that and go with the Miku, go have the Miku. There. For it. But if we do that, I'd rather wait, at least let's wait until we get to level 6, I think, before we do buy. Just because I want to be able to have a slightly better access to parts. And also we can wait and see, you know, because like the XF day cab, like this one does not have any for it. So it's like, it's gonna be whatever for that. Now if I were also, we have the other one, whoops, truck dealers. Let's go look at the other one, which is the Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz, is currently 412. I have that available to me, for that Mercedes-Benz one. But then there's only 4. There's only one Mercedes-Benz, the new Actros. There's the older one available, if we do find that. If you do go Truck Explorer, I want to look up one last thing, and then just to show you that there's a Mercedes-Benz old Actros. There's the older set. The older sets goes to 320. and it'd be 360 for that if we ever do find it, which I don't want to use. I am somebody that's, you know, I'm not going to pick the old Actros for it. What we do have, currently, the other ones that I like to use, we do have the Renault. Available to us. But it's the normal sleeper. No. So, wait, let's go to used trucks. Hold on, I want to check something. It's the Renault Premium, the Volvo FH5, and the Scania R. So let's go look at both of those categories. Cause I need to get off. I should have been off 15 minutes ago. It's the Volvo FH5 sleeper. Basic chassis we can use. It would be 460 for this. And then we have the retarder. It only comes with mine. But then we also have this other other thing, and we would usually there. And the other one that we have is services used is the Scania, right? Let's go over to that, because I wanted to see what we can, because if we have the used, and what, it's the Scania R 2009. There, it's probably going to be this 360 horsepower one, probably going to have this retarder set up. But we do have Miku twice, and we do have that available. And it would have to be standard UK though. For it. What is so it's the Scania R 2009, which is 20,000. 20 million on that for that Scania. That's not going to be worth it for us right now. And we don't have right now. We do not have access to anything other than the DAF and the Mercedes-Benz places to buy things. That's all we've got. So so we're just gonna have to wait and see what the game's gonna provide for us. But anyways, I'm gonna save this live. Today's the 7th, so it'll be 4/7/26. So anyway, we will catch you guys later. Make sure you guys hit that follow. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe. Make sure that you hit that bell notification here on YouTube, because you'll never know, you'll miss an update when I do go live. If you miss an update, I do also have a Discord that notification that sometimes will go out, and I also have a Blue Sky notification now, as well. I'm trying to be more better about posting those live at least in the afternoon. But then I also have a night stream that you guys can come back here in about a few hours for my night streams. My night streams are always 9 p.m., 10 o'clock at night. Roughly 10 o'clock until whenever for it. So It's always a good thing to do that. Um, but anyway, we will catch you guys later. Oh, and if you're watching here on Twitch, make sure that you do hit that follow, um, because we're live twice in a row. Um, if I wasn't if I didn't have to um focus on having somebody else around, sometimes like if my mom's not around, then I will just go get something to eat and then come back in like half an hour or so. But because I hang out with my mom, I gotta spend time with family is always a good idea to spend time with family. So anyway, I'm gonna go make some supper and go watch some TV, and then I'll be back probably 9, 10 o'clock. Depending on Save the World. I do Save the World offline. So tonight's Fortnite, um, possibly. So we will see how things go. With that, so anyway.